All right, everyone. I have the privilege to be joined by our mental performance coach, Jay Banfield. Jay, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
Now, before we talk about your coaching days, a little more about your playing day experience. Talk me through, what was the first moment that you just loved playing the game of baseball, and how did it translate throughout your playing days, going into even semi-professionally out in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, look, for as long as I can remember, I've loved playing baseball. I think my first memory that jumped in my head is I grew up in a town called Somerville, right outside of Boston, so not too far away from here. And we had a staircase in the front of the house, red brick. I can remember it super well. And I would take like a pinky ball and I'd just like practice and recreate games. I'd watch a Red Sox game and then I'd score it and then I'd go outside and replay it against the staircase. I do that for hours. So I think that's when I realized I had an addiction problem to baseball.
Not a bad addiction to have.
Not a bad
Were
one.
you were
Not
you
a bad one.
practicing on being any sort of Red Sox player, like in your mind? Were you Jim
Ooh,
Rice?
Jim Rice was my favorite. He was my favorite by far. By
That's
far.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, after your playing days, graduated at Stanford with a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
Talk me through what really started your path into wanting to be a mental performance coach.
Yeah, good question. I think I've long been fascinated by the brain and how the brain works. So I went into school thinking I was going to be a human biology major and thinking about the actual physical brain. And as I was taking coursework, I was exposed to different psychology courses, and I realized that's what I really found myself drawn to. And I think that's really important in life is to what are the things you have interest in, because those are the things you'll work hardest at. And so that kind of started me down that road in when I was at school, did some research that ended up getting published, which was great in sports psychology. I think that gave me some reassurance that I was on the right path, that I was, that there was something that I could do that was taken seriously and was in the field. And then throughout my life, I just have coached my son, who you met, who was here a couple weeks ago or a week ago now. Uh, I coach baseball at various levels. I love coaching and mentoring. And a lot of my experiences after school, I think, led me to this place. I met Kelly now 8 years ago and was doing some workforce development work with 18 to 24 year olds, which was all about building community, accountability, responsibility, work ethic, things that I think really do translate into a sports environment. And when I met Kelly, I said, "Look, I'd love to come out to the Cape and see if I can make this translate to this space." I growing up in Somerville, Peter Gammons was an idol of mine, and I had the privilege of meeting him a couple of summers ago. And I would read Sunday baseball notes like it was the Bible. I couldn't wait for that Sunday paper to come and to read that. And Peter, I think, being from Falmouth, talked about the Cape Cod Baseball League all the time, and I paid attention. And so I dreamt about doing this. I reached out to I won't name the organizations, but I reached out to other organizations on the Cape to say, hey, can I interview you with you and talk about the things I think I can do for you? And Kelly was the one who responded, so I'll always be grateful to him.
Oh yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you're here in Orleans. I'm
Well, I hope so.
no, I mean I've appreciated you being here, and I'm sure the team has as well. Year by year, now in your sixth year in the
Yeah.
Cape, and you mentioned your relationship with Kelly. Are you still kind of learning through each year? Like, what are some things that you take away from? Do you try to work on new things in your routine talking to the team?
Well, look, we talk about this with the guys. The importance of a growth mindset, like that is important, and we're always learning. And if we're not getting better, we're getting worse. So I am every day trying to get better. My kids, who I'm sure will watch this, I wear I wear a shirt sometimes that says "Beat Yesterday." I think it gets a little exhausting for the people around me, but I really believe in that. And so yeah, it evolves all the time. I'll give you a very specific example. This year, based on some feedback that Kelly gave me at the end of the year, is like we've put in an opportunity, an offer to each of the players to develop an individualized process. And so I've given them a worksheet and I'm scheduling individual sessions with guys who want to do that. Because one of the things that's really important to me is that it's not my job to roll out a program and say, do these 20 things. That's not really going to help people. You need to be really specific. Each person's needs are different in what they need to work on to develop mental strength to be successful. It varies by person to person. It just does. And so that individualized approach and having those individual office hours with players, that's a new thing. I hadn't done that before in the prior 5 years, and I like that. I think it's working out pretty well, and I'm sure if you were to be back next year, but I know you'll be off doing bigger and better things. If we have this conversation a year from now, I'm sure I'll be doing 5 different things because I'm always trying to figure it out.
Hey, who knows? Maybe down the line, I might hit you up, ask for some mental performance coaching on the
Who knows?
broadcasting side of everything.
Well, who knows? I'll be hitting you up for tickets to the World Series or the Super Bowl.
Hey,
so.
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for sure. Does it vary? Coaching college students, high school students, young athletes. Does that vary at all? Is there any difference?
Well, there are definitely differences. I don't want to pretend like there aren't, but there are more commonalities than there are differences. Uh, it really is about having the humility to understand where someone is, to try to help them find the tools. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about today with the guys, which I've alluded to before, but I'm going to reinforce it, is that the answer is always within inside of you. And the job of any good mentor or coach or parent is to help guide someone to find the answer for themselves. Like I don't like the idea of the ego of some teachers and professors and coaches to say I have the answers and I'm holding them here and I'm going to give those to you. I want our guys to leave here empowered, to be exposed to a series of tools that they can access when they need it. They can always come back to me, guys from even 6 years ago still I work with, and once a bird, always a bird. I believe in that. So people have more commonalities than they have differences. People want to be respected. They want to be heard and seen. They want people to understand that they have particular needs that need to get unearthed. And then, the other thing we'll talk about with the guys is there's no greater respect that we can pay a person to hold them to high expectations and high standards. But that needs to be paired with high support. Like if I just hold you to high standards and I don't support you along in that journey, then I'm not really doing you much of a service. And so that's some of the things we work on. People respond to that. That's true whether you're in Little League, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college baseball, whether you're in the professional world. Like those things are common.
I love that, holding high standards, but also the responsibility of keeping those standards with the player, with a person. It's phenomenal stuff what you do. What is one exercise that you like to go through with the team or with a player to help them visualize success and focus?
Yeah, there are definitely tools that we'll work on to develop the ability to focus. Baseball is a game that relies on your ability to focus and refocus, probably more so than other sports. I mean, maybe golf is similar in some ways, but there's less flow of a game than there is in like a basketball game, for example. So the ability to flip the switch is important. What's interesting, and we'll talk about this today with the guys, is that the ability to mentally focus, it can be triggered and is triggered by visual focus. So that should be kind of relief to people, is that if you have trouble focusing and refocusing, like locking in on that tree is a way to reset works. And it's something you actually can develop if you practice it. So if you spend time just kind of focusing in on an object that's in your close proximity, that you can train your brain to do that more regularly. And that's really important in baseball because you got to be locked in for a pitch and then there's 20 seconds of downtime and then you have to re-lock in. So going in and out is really important. So we work on that. I also am a big believer in mental rehearsal and being able to visualize not just success, because I think that can be too easy. Life's not always straightforward and great all the time. So I think there's limits to that positive psychology, like everything's awesome. It is, how do you put yourselves in situations so it doesn't feel like it's new? Like if you think about greatest athletes when they're interviewed, they talk about the game slowing down. Or when Tom Brady talks about being in the Super Bowl, he talks about, I've been there before, so I know what to expect. And that so many guys who make it to the first Super Bowl, the game speeds up on them because they have no idea what it's like. You can actually put yourself in situations using your brain to do that so that you can build the neural pathway that when you are exposed to a new situation, it doesn't feel new. and that you can keep your heart rate slow and you can be focused. And so I'm a big believer in mental rehearsal and visualization. I try to give the guys the tools to do that, and they work on that with us as a group, and then on their own, hopefully.
I
Hopefully.
I think they have. I mean, it's paid off for them in the long run, and I think with this conversation, I may start visualizing myself. Jay, thank you so much for your time. We
Of
really
course, of
appreciate it.
course,
Thanks for joining
of
us.
course. Thank you very much.